St. Lucians, we are back on the third segment of our program, and at this point I think Mr. Wilson has a very important point which he wants to make in respect to getting LIAT streamlined. Mr. Wilson.
The question has come up many times, and St. Lucia is one of those islands targeted with this question. Why is it all the governments have not participated in the financing of LIAT? I, for one, feel that LIAT is so important to us that all the governments benefit from LIAT and all the governments should participate in LIAT. However, if I am a government and I look at a company and I notice that the company is not operating along strict commercial lines, and the people that run the airline, some of them though seem to have the kind of experience in that type of business. You look at a board that's made up of people that are not business-like in their thinking, and then you look year after year after year, that airline is running into loss after loss after loss. It'll be very difficult to persuade an island to participate financially into this airline. But it's something we have to do. St. Lucia is part of the OECS. St. Lucia is part of the chain of islands that LIAT connects. So we have to participate. But I think LIAT will have to do a lot within the company to convince the governments that have not yet participated. Things cannot be business as usual. I think that company need to make some changes, some serious changes, whereby they can attract the public. I think, just imagine trying to put that company on the exchange,
stock market.
The stock market. No one would buy any stock, because when they look at the history of the company and the finances and what is happening to them now, you won't. And when you look at mainly the personnel, not mainly personnel from the not mainly personnel on around the islands. I mean, these people are well trained, the people who are at the airports that do. We're talking about the people who make the decisions at the corporate level, the board of directors. You really would have to convince the public that these people are what you want before they can come in.
I'll tell you something, Pepe. Just before the ATRs were purchased, or when they were in process, there's a very large company in Brazil. I think it's called Ambera. Am I correct?
They make Embraer airplanes.
Okay,
the Embraer 145 and 135. Yeah.
I was contacted by those people, and I was able to arrange here in St. Lucia a very high-level meeting where certain permanent secretaries from the other islands came, because they had a proposal to make, which they did. I was not involved in the direct meetings, but I was involved in getting the people to St. Lucia, and it was well participated. After the meeting, I met the CEO of that company, who stayed 3 days in St. Lucia, and he told me that an analysis had been done on LIAT, and pro rata to its size and volume, LIAT was the worst run airline in the world and lost the most money pro rata. I couldn't believe it, okay? And Brazil is a large country which our tourism ministers are looking at as further development, and they were willing to give something like 85% or 90% financing to a fleet of aircrafts to start from Guyana, Barbados, St. Lucia, Antigua, Fort Lauderdale daily with a feeder service, And, nothing happened, but in all fairness to LIAT and the governments, I suspect that when that meeting took place, they were already committed to buying the ATRs, okay? The Brazilians were a little unhappy about it, but of course they were business people and they came in here. A lot of work had been done. I know that Mr. Alva Baptist the Minister of Foreign was flown down to Brazil. He was briefed on what they wanted to do. And I think he did indicate he was quite impressed with what went on. But of course, he was only one minister and or one country for that matter. But you see, the point you made earlier, again, you right on target, because you cannot continue to run an industry after 60 years still losing money. Nobody's going to invest in that. It is madness.
Well, exactly, because the point you made about the person who said it's the worst airline, the worst run airline, and so how could you convince someone like that to invest in Liat? And that's the difficulty some of the governments have. It's not that the governments are unwilling to participate in Liat. I think what they would like to see is a change in the way the airline is run, its personnel. Now, Liat has just, in fact, appointed a new CEO.
That's what I want to ask.
He's from the UK.
Yeah. You know,
now, we have gone that road
so many times. When I saw
times.
that this morning in the papers, I said, you know something? We are making, and now I don't know the gentleman, maybe he has a lot of experience, but the experience required in the islands, I don't think this gentleman has it. So, I mean, we're just spinning top in mud. It's madness.
It's really sad. After 60 years of running an airline, we cannot produce a CEO
of our own
in the region. I mean, this
and
is unbelievable.
Be, yeah.
I have nothing against the UK and the gentleman coming. In fact, the decision is made, but we have gone that route before. In fact, during my tenure in Antigua, I must have had about maybe 2 or 3, I think, English individuals who came, who ran the airline, the CEO, and all left. There was no real change, and you see what we have today. All we can do now is to wait and see what happens.
You know, by the same token, even Caribbean Airlines, after they paid out all that severance pay to Biwi, they have changed quite a few CEOs in that very short space of time. But of course, when I look now at Caribbean Airlines vis-a-vis St. Lucia, they have a daily flight and it runs like clockwork. It comes in with like 75 people and goes to there. And from what I'm hearing, the occupancy is anywhere between 75 and 100%. So that is doing exceptionally well. Now, what is happening now? Liat may want to say, well, you know, okay, fine, we will have to watch the competition, but the competition comes when you least expect, because I don't think Liat is taking into consideration the beating that they are taking on British Airways, which suits us fine, because you have a British Airways flight operating out of Huanor to Port of Spain daily, okay, at 35 to 40% less than what Liat is offering. And I am telling you, I would rather, I mean, other than Caribbean Airlines, which I can take at VG, if I have to have a plan B, I will go down to Huanora and take a British, only a 45-minute or 50-minute drive, and go down, because I know the flight is going to be on time. It takes 20 minutes, and I know when I have to come back to do my business. Now, from the tourism side of things, this flight has helped Coconut Bay tremendously in the south. But not only that, and the Caribbean Airlines flight has helped the small hotels here in the north tremendously, and to the extent that right now, I'm not saying all of Trinidad, but a great portion of Trinidadians are what's helping us. 50% of our hotel is really serviced by CARICOM. Now, Virgin Airlines and BA, since Sanders has gone into Grenada and increased the number of people, give them 2 flights a week through St. Lucia. So you can actually fly from St. Lucia to Grenada and back in one day on Virgin, and also on another day on British Airways. Because Grenada for us is unbelievable. To get to Grenada from here, you're looking at 8 hours on a Liat flight. And that's if you get there in the same day. I mean, this is ridiculous, because as you rightly pointed out, yes, SVG has this airline and they're down in St. Vincent. Why can't they have a flight that probably leaves Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia twice a day, you know, or once a day, or whatever the case may be, and get us out there? Because we had a business in St. Vincent, and we have to spend hours at the airport waiting on a plane to come from Barbados to get here. And arriving here at midnight. I had an episode about 4 months ago. I was at 5 hours at the airport in Barbados. Finally, we boarded the flight to St. Lucia. We had to stop in St. Vincent. And then after 15 minutes, we were announced that we have to get off the flight. And I said, look at me, I'm not getting off this flight. And and about 15 to 20 people said, look, that is it. As a matter of fact, I didn't have any carry-on bags, and the other people saw their bags, and some ladies here who got quite vociferous and said, put our bag. And they said, you can call the police, we're not getting off this flight. And it shouldn't be coming to that in this day and age. You know, this makes no sense at all, you know. And there were other foreigners on the flight. There was one gentleman, I think from the UK or Canada, and he said, look, he said to the pilot, let me tell you something. I paid for a ticket to get from A to B. I want you have a contract with me, you're going to take me there.
This is why I made the point earlier that LEAD should be talking with these carriers. And St. Vincent is a good case in point, because the company has twin otters. They have islanders. And this is what I was talking about, these routes. St. Vincent, St. Lucia, VG to George Charles, to E.T. Joshua, and even at the new airport, should be served by, LEAD shouldn't be doing this.
That's right.
Because it's as you said earlier about the cycles, the maintenance. And this is this is really what the airline have to start to look at. I think they should look at these small carriers that they can work with them to provide the services that's not really economical for them to operate. And also those services that will complement LEAD.
Correct.
You really need to look at it, and I hope that their new CEO will, and their board. Yeah. But quite frankly,
I don't see it happening, to be honest with you.
But they are there, and I think they should be used.
So, right now, what would you would advocate a meeting with all the prime ministers to have this matter thrashed out, or what advice can you give them today?
Well, the OECS,
to get it going.
The OECS governments have a very good forum to deal with these things. They meet, twice a year as the OECS authority, and these are the kind of matters that are discussed at heads. I used to attend these heads meetings when I was the director of civil aviation. So these matters come up there, and this is the best forum for them to deal with it. And in fact, you know, these meetings used to have, people from the senior officers from the different institutions would deal with a subject, make recommendations to them, and then they make a decision. Aviation, as I said, is one of the oldest regional organizations, subjects that we have dealt with on a regional basis. It's been there since 1957, it's still there, and I really do not see it changing, because each of these islands really cannot afford to have a civil aviation authority. We need to stay together. So the governments, I think, have a good forum for them to deal with this. I think quite a lot should be dealt with. The whole question of the travel, we must do things to fill these aeroplanes. And to fill them is the fare. A serious look at these fares should be made. The government should really revisit these fares. Not the fare in particular, but their taxes that influence the fares.
Yeah. This is Open Mic. This is ending our third segment, and we will be right back.